First verse. Home again in Jerusalem, war bulletin, God's message concerning Israel, God's decree. The very God who threw the skies into space, set earth on a firm foundation, and breathed his own life into men and women. Watch for this. I'm about to turn Jerusalem into a cup of strong drink that will have the people who have set siege to Judah and Jerusalem staggering in a drunken stupor. On the big day, I'll turn Jerusalem into a huge stone blocking the way for everyone. All who try to find it will rupture themselves. All the pagan nations will come together and try to get rid of it. On the big day, this is God speaking. I'll throw all the war horses into a crazed panic and the riders along with them. But I'll keep my eye on Judah, watching out for her at the same time that I make the enemy horses go blind. The families of Judah will then realize why our leaders are strong and able to go through God of the angel army as their personal God. On the big day, I'll turn the families of Judah into something like a burning match in a tender dry forest, like a fiercely flaming torch in a barn full of hay. They'll burn up everything and everyone in sight, people to the right, people to the left, while Jerusalem fills up with people moving in and making themselves at home, home again in Jerusalem. I, God, will begin by restoring the common households of Judah so that the glory of David's family and the leaders in Jerusalem won't overshadow the ordinary people in Judah. On the big day, I'll look after everyone who lives in Jerusalem so that the lowest, weakest person will be as glorious as David, and the family of David itself will be godlike, like the angel of God leading the people. On the big day, I'll make a clean sweep of all the godless nations that fought against Jerusalem. Next, I'll deal with the family of David and those who live in Jerusalem. I'll pour a spirit of grace and prayer over them. They'll then be able to recognize me as the one they so grievously wounded. That piercing spear thrusts, and they'll weep. Oh, how they'll weep. Deep mourning as of a parent grieving the loss of the firstborn child. The lamentation in Jerusalem that day will be massive, as famous as the lamentation over Hadad Rimmon on the fields of Megiddo. Everyone will weep and grieve, the land and everyone in it. The family of David off by itself and their women off by themselves. The family of Nathan off by itself and their women off by themselves. The family of Levi off by itself and their women off by themselves. The family of Shimei off by itself and their women off by themselves. And the rest of the families off by themselves and their women off by themselves. Zechariah 13, washing away sins. On the big day, a fountain will be opened for the family of David and all the leaders of Jerusalem for washing away their sins, for scrubbing their stained and soiled lives clean. On the big day, this is the God of the angel army speaking. I will wipe out the store-bought gods, erase their names from memory. People will forget they ever heard of them, and I'll get rid of the prophets who polluted the air with their diseased words. If anyone dares persist in spreading diseased, polluting words, his very own parents will step in and say, that's it, you're finished. Your lies about God put everyone in danger, and they'll stab him to death in the very act of prophesying lies about God, his own parents, mind you. On the big day, the lying prophets will be publicly exposed and humiliated. Then they'll wish they'd never swindled people with their visions. No more masquerading in prophets' clothes, but they'll deny they've even heard of such things. Me, a prophet? Not me. I'm a farmer, grew up on the farm. And if someone says, and so where did you get that black eye? They'll say, I ran into a door at a friend's house. Oh, Lord. Sword, get moving against my shepherd, against my close associate, decree of the God of the angel armies. Kill the shepherd, scatter the sheep, the back of my hand, even against the lambs, against even the lambs. All across the country, God's decree. 2/3 will be devastated. 1/3 will survive, and 1/3 survive. I'll deliver the surviving third to the refinery fires. I'll refine them as silver is refined. Test them for purity as gold is tested, and they'll pray to me by name, and I'll answer them personally. I'll say, that's my people. They'll say, God, my God. Zechariah 14, the day is coming. Note well, God's judgment is on the way. Plunder will be piled high and handed out. I'm bringing all the godless nations to war against Jerusalem. Houses plundered, women raped, half the city taken into exile, the other half left behind. But then God will march out against the godless nations and fight a great war. That's the day he'll take his stand on the Mount of Olives, facing Jerusalem from the east. The Mount of Olives will be split right down the middle from east to west, leaving a wide valley. Half the mountain will shift north, the other half south. Then you will run for your lives down the valley, your escape route that will take you all the way to Azal. You run for your lives just as you ran on the day of the great earthquake in the days of Uzziah, king of Judah. Then my God will arrive and all the holy angels with him. What a day that will be. No more cold nights. In fact, no more nights. The day is coming, the time is God's, when it will be a continuous day. Every evening will be a fresh morning. What a day that will be. Fresh flowing rivers out of Jerusalem, half to the eastern sea, half to the western sea, flowing year round, summer and winter. God will be king over all the earth, one God and only one God. What a day that will be. The land will stretch out spaciously around Jerusalem to Geba in the north and Rimmon in the south, with Jerusalem towering at the center and commanding city gates. Gate of Benjamin, the first gate, the corner gate to Hananel, tower of the royal winery, ringing the city full of people. Never again will Jerusalem be totally destroyed. From now on, it will be a safe city. But this is what will happen to all who fought against Jerusalem. God will visit them with a terrible plague. People's flesh will rot off their bones while they're walking around. Their eyes will rot in their sockets and their tongues in their mouths. People will be dying on their feet. Mass hysteria. When that happens, total panic. Fellow soldiers fighting and killing each other. Holy terror. And then Judah will jump into the fray. Treasures from all the nations will be piled high. Gold, silver, the latest fashions. The plague will also hit the animals, horses, mules, camels, and donkeys. Everything alive in the military camps will be hit by the plague. All the survivors from the godless nations that fought against Jerusalem will travel to Jerusalem every year to worship the King, the God of the angel armies, and celebrate the Feast of Booths. If any of these survivors fail to make the annual pilgrimage to Jerusalem to worship the King, God of the angel armies, there will be no rain. If the Egyptians don't make the pilgrimage and worship, there will be no rain for them. Every nation that does not go up to celebrate the Feast of Booths will be hit with the plague. Egypt and any other nation that does not make pilgrimage to celebrate the Feast of Booths gets punished. On that day, the big day, all the horses, harness bells will be inscribed, holy to God. The cooking pots in the temple of God will be as sacred as chalices and plates on the altar. In fact, all the pots and pans in all the kitchens of Jerusalem and Judah will be holy to the God of the angel armies. People who come to worship, preparing meals and sacrifices, will use them. On that big day, there will be no buying or selling in the temple of the God of the angel armies. This is the word of the Lord.